Hi, this is Alessio, Rastani, leading trader. In this video, we're going to talk about a major and extraordinary prediction that was made by billionaire investor Jim Rogers about a year ago, and what that potentially could mean for the major markets, and especially in regards to what's been happening recently. So before I play the clip, and I want you to pay close attention to what Rogers says, first of all, let's just discuss what's been happening recently in the stock markets and, of course, in the major markets. As I'm sure you probably heard, one of the big reasons why the stock markets dropped so fast and sharply is because of this particular fund ETF that you see here called XIV. Take a look at this. XIV essentially is the fund or ETF where traders bet on lower volatility. This has been one of the biggest bubbles of the last few years. And of course, many folks have not been realizing that this bubble has even been happening. Take a look at this. This particular fund, XIV, went from about $20 back in 2016 all the way up to, take a list, over 1,000% rise in about a couple of years to $140. And then in a matter of a day, get this. So in a matter of a day, this week, in fact, well, first of all, the fund dropped to about 100 to here. And then in just one day, the price of this fund, XIV, dropped from about 100 all the way down to 17. And of course, as we know now, it's about $6. And millions of dollars, if not billions, were wiped out in an instant. In fact, you probably have heard about the news about one trader. In fact, here's on Market Watch, one XIV trader who said, I've lost $4 million in a day. Now, here's the thing. I think you will agree with me that this was not an isolated incident. I think this has actually affected many more people and funds, hedge funds around the world that we have not even heard about just yet. Because, as a matter of fact, there was a report that Credit Suisse, which was behind this particular fund, XIV, they owned $550 million of XIV. So that $550 million that they had in this fund, I mean, that's gone. That's vanished. And by the way, Credit Suisse have said that this particular fund, XIV, will no longer exist, will be dead as of February 21st. Okay, now I'm going to play this clip, which contains an extraordinary prediction by Jim Rogers about the stock markets. And by the way, Jim Rogers is a legendary investor who's made billions in gold and other markets. So whenever he says something, we do pay attention. Listen to what he says.
Well, what's going to happen is this is going to continue. Some stocks in America are turning into a bubble. The bubble's going to come, then it's going to collapse. And you should be very worried.
So when is this going to happen?
Later this year or next.
Later this year or next.
Yeah. Write it down.
And what will trigger it?
Okay, now listen to what comes next and how he answers this question. What could trigger the next market collapse and how the bubble will burst? It is something that I've been thinking about ever since he said it about a year ago. So it's a very revealing answer. Let's play it.
Well, it's interesting because these things always start where we're not looking. In 2007, Iceland went broke. And people said, Iceland? Is that a country? They have a market? And then Ireland went broke, and then Bear Stearns went broke, and then, Lehman Brothers went broke. They spiral like that. Always happens where we're not looking. I don't know, it could be an American pension plan that goes broke, and many of them are broke, as you know. It could be some country we're not watching. It could be all sorts of things. It could be war, unlikely to be war, but it's going to be something. When you're watching Business Insider, and you see, that's so interesting, I didn't know that company could go broke. It goes broke. Send me an email.
Okay, I hope you caught that part in the video. I'm going to play it one more time. Just listen to this bit here.
And you see, that's so interesting. I didn't know that company could go broke. It goes broke. Send me an email.
So essentially what Rogers is saying here is that there could be companies out there, firms, pension funds, other particular firms that we haven't even heard about, that could go bankrupt within this year or next year that we never thought even was possible. In other words, a collapse maybe in a financial firm or maybe in a different kind of organization that has ties to financial firms that could lead to a much bigger collapse. And that's something that certainly has been haunting me. And it's worth thinking about that. Is it possible that this drop in XIV has had an impact, a systemic impact on other funds, again, that we've not heard about? If you think about it, back in 2007, 2008, in 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed and went bankrupt. In the same year, Bear Stearns went bankrupt as well. And again, nobody knew that these financial firms were in trouble until finally it happened. Now, having said that, that is pure speculation, and as yet, we don't have any facts to substantiate whether such a thing is going to happen. Personally, with all great respect to Jim Rogers, and I do respect his point of view, I think that he's probably a bit wrong on the timing. Although I think Jim Rogers will be proven right eventually, that we will see a major financial crash, and indeed one of the biggest in our lifetime. I don't think that that's going to happen just yet. So yes, we've had a tremendous and certainly a sharp drop in the stock markets recently, but I believe this is still a correction and nothing more. And I believe this, once this correction is complete, we'll potentially see new highs and higher levels on the S&P, and potentially even 3,000 in the S&P by the end of this year. Having said that, though, that is unless the facts change. So unless the facts change, and unless we see a material breakdown in the structure in this uptrend on the stock markets, we still remain bullish on the stock markets. Remember, the trend in the stock markets is still upwards. There's absolutely no evidence whatsoever in the stock market to suggest that this uptrend has ended. So again, unless something much more serious happens in the next few months that changes the market structure, that changes the trend on the stock markets, we still remain bullish, and we consider this correction to be a buying opportunity. All right, guys, I look forward to receiving your comments about this video and what you think. Do you agree, for example, with Rogers that a potential collapse is coming by the end of this year? Or do you think that this potentially is still a buying opportunity and that we're going to see higher levels on the stock market? Let me know what you think. And also, guys, if this video has been of help and you found it useful, then please give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and also please remember to subscribe to our videos. Thank you very much indeed.